Welcome to This Explainer. We live in an era where we're just constantly bombarded with life hacks, productivity systems, and these incredibly complex theories on how to optimize our lives. We're always trying to figure out how to overcome burnout and build mental toughness, right? We look to apps, we look to algorithms, and we jump on the latest trends just to find our footing in a really chaotic world. But today, we're going to look in a completely different direction. We're going to examine a system of survival and flourishing that has literally been perfected over billions of years. We are going to explore nature's blueprint for resilience. What if the greatest teacher of resilience has been surrounding us all along? I want you to really think about that for a second. Where do you typically look for guidance when you feel overwhelmed by the sheer pace of modern life? Do you look to a screen? Do you look inward until you feel totally trapped in your own thoughts? Well, what if the answers to our deepest human struggles, our loneliness, our exhaustion, our fear of change, are actually already written in the sky, carved right into the earth, and woven through the changing of the seasons? Section 1. The journey we share, the power of community. Okay, let's dive into this. To truly understand this concept, lift your gaze up toward the clouds. We've all seen this, right? A flock of migratory birds flying high above in that distinct, striking V formation. But here's the thing. They aren't just doing this because it looks incredibly organized. This is actually a highly sophisticated strategy for sharing the aerodynamic burden of an unbelievably long journey. The bird at the very front is taking the absolute brunt of the wind resistance. But as it flaps its wings, it creates an updraft, literally a lifting force of air for the bird immediately behind it, and so on all the way down the line. And when that lead bird gets tired, it doesn't just quit and fall out of the sky. No way. It rotates to the back of the V to rest and glide in the slipstream, while another bird moves up to take the hardest position. We go further when we fly together, sharing the weight of the journey. This visual evidence from the sky translates so directly to our own lives. Think about how often we try to fly against the heavy winds of life completely solo. We experience burnout, we experience profound loneliness, precisely because we absolutely refuse to rotate out of the front position. We think we have to bear the ultimate aerodynamic drag of our careers, our families, and our personal struggles entirely by ourselves. But true resilience isn't about being the strongest individual bird, it's about staying in the formation, allowing others to lift you up when you are exhausted, and taking the lead only when you actually have the strength to spare. Section 2. The persistence of water, the power of time. Moving from the sky back down to the surface of the earth, we come to a deeply moving lesson about continuous, unrelenting effort. Just imagine a flowing, muddy river carving its path through grassy, earthy banks. Water is, by its very nature, soft. It yields. You can literally run your hand right through it. Yet this seemingly soft, yielding substance is responsible for carving out the Grand Canyon. That muddy color is the visible evidence of the earth actually being reshaped, piece by piece, grain by grain. It doesn't happen through sudden, explosive violence. It happens through sheer, quiet continuity. The river simply refuses to stop moving forward. So the crucial point is that we often conflate strength with short-term force, stuff that's loud, abrupt, and making a massive splash. But that energy is easily and quickly exhausted. Think of a sudden flash flood. Now contrast that with long-term persistence. It's quiet, it's continuous, and ultimately, it is completely unstoppable. True human resilience looks remarkably more like this steady river than a sudden, dramatic flood. When we face massive obstacles, we so often think we need to summon this monumental, explosive amount of energy to blast through it all at once. But honestly, that just leads to total depletion. Consistent effort over time reshapes mountains. It is the small, daily habits, the quiet choice to get up and try again, even when the progress seems as invisible as a single drop of water eroding a stone. That steady progress, that quiet devotion to moving forward, that is what eventually changes the entire landscape of your life. Section 3. The strength to stand. Weathering the storm. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we transition from the shared effort of air and the steady persistence of water to grounding ourselves deeply in the immovable strength of the earth. Imagine a dark, ominous mountain peak engulfed in heavy clouds, intimidating, cold, punishing. Now flip that and imagine a brilliant, sunlit, snow-capped peak shining triumphantly against a crystal-clear blue sky. Here is the magnificent truth. It's the exact same rock. The mountain itself remains structurally completely unchanged, whether it is standing in profound darkness or brilliant triumph. The mountain doesn't shrink from the storm, and it doesn't desperately grasp at the sunlight. It simply stands. You are the mountain. The storms only pass over you. So often, when you go through a dark period, a failure, a loss, a deep depression, you feel like the storm is destroying who you are. We conflate the weather with our identity. But your core identity, your inherent worth, your true self, is the immovable rock beneath. The anxiety, the grief, the chaotic events of life, they're just weather systems. They are undeniably real, and they can be incredibly harsh, for sure, but they are temporary. They will eventually blow over, and you will still be standing there when the morning light breaks. Section 4, the cycle of change, embracing every season. Moving from the physical elements into the concept of time itself, if there is one thing nature absolutely insists upon, it's that nothing stays the same forever. We move from the fresh, vibrant green grass of spring into the fiery, shutting canopy of an autumn forest, down into the stark, frozen, leafless trees of winter, and finally back into the delicate pink blossoms of a new spring. And you know what? Nature doesn't resist this cycle, it relies on it. A tree doesn't view losing its leaves in autumn as a failure. It knows that to survive the winter, it absolutely must let go of what it no longer needs. Our personal growth requires this exact same rhythm. We cannot be in a state of vibrant, exhausting outward blooming all year round. We desperately need those quiet, introspective winter seasons of dormancy and rest to heal and prepare for our next chapter. And when that next chapter finally begins, it often looks incredibly humble. Think of a delicate, bright green seedling just beginning to poke through the dark soil into the sunlight. This is what the start of a new personal season looks like. It's quiet. It is deeply vulnerable. Much of the work that got this seedling to the surface happened completely unseen, buried in the dirt. When you are trying to better yourself, to heal, or to learn a new skill, honor this vulnerable beginning. Don't judge the tiny seedling for not being a giant oak tree yet. This natural process maps directly to our own stages of healing and self-improvement. Step 1 is the planting, that quiet, intentional beginning where you make a choice to change. Step 2 is the waiting, the unseen, often frustrating development phase where you are putting in the work, but the results aren't visible to the outside world yet. And finally, Step 3, the blooming, the visible realization of all that hidden effort. If we try to skip Step 2, actually, if we refuse to wait and nurture the unseen development, we will literally never achieve the true, lasting bloom. Section 5, Wisdom in the Wild, Actualizing Your Potential. So, what happens when we actually apply all of these principles? When we share the journey, persist like the river, stand firm like the mountain, and honor our seasonal cycles? You get the absolute climax of personal growth. A wildly vibrant bird of paradise flower blooming boldly in the sun. It's unapologetic in its color. It is entirely unique. This is the perfect metaphor for self-actualization. This striking bloom didn't just happen by accident. It is the result of relying on its environment, persisting through the dirt, weathering the storms, and trusting the timing of its own seasonal cycle. When you adopt nature's lessons, you aren't just figuring out how to scrape by and barely survive. You are giving yourself the precise environment needed to thrive and reveal your most authentic self to the world. True resilience always leads to a vibrant, authentic bloom. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back to a baseline of survival. It's an active, transformative process. It's about using the wind, the water, the storms, and the seasons to continuously forge yourself into something stronger, wiser, and far more beautifully complex than you ever were before. Nature's wisdom is everywhere. Learn from it and grow. The oldest, most successful blueprint for overcoming adversity is waiting right outside your door. So I want to leave you with this final, crucial question. What season of your life are you currently in? And what is the environment around you trying to teach you? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and I truly hope you let yourself bloom.